of your life is spent from 0 to 4 learning how to walk, talk, do all the basic things. You might even go to pre-K, daycare, or kindergarten in this time, which is arguably the worst thing you can do to your child, sending them off to get temporary parenting from some random person up to 8 hours a day while the families go work and get the necessary income to support that child and themselves. And then you go into school, grade school, where you're now on a systematic where you are systematically determined a future. If you don't comply and you can't make it in that system, especially before technology and social media became a thing, then projected to fail by society's standards. Even though the majority of what you learn in school, at least in the US, has zero utility in the real world. You're not taught about taxes, business, how to own a house, how to buy things, how to save your money. No. You're taught esoteric concepts that are essentially useless, as they're not used in any form whatsoever throughout your daily life after you get out of that system. Whereas the necessity to live is actually taught to you by your parents by watching what they do. No one taught you how to go to a grocery store, how to drive, nothing like that in school. You learn everything that truly makes you successful outside of school. Even if you're a doctor, the only real learning you do is when you go to residency and you niche down into what you're actually interested in. That's one of the reasons I didn't try to go to medical school. I just gave up on it. The system sucks so bad that not only did I get completely burnt out before I could even consider taking the MCAT, that's it actually. I just burnt out so badly from taking all of these courses that, relatively speaking, have zero utility when you're actually a doctor, that I burnt out and I didn't want to do it anymore. Luckily, the population is not growing at such an exponential number that we require more doctors, and that me not taking advantage of my intelligence to go do that is not going to leave some hole in society, which is what you're taught as a young person in the school system. If you don't go do something, you're going to leave a hole either in yourself or in society. Mostly in society. They don't really care about you. Hey, are we going to have someone to do my taxes this year? You should go be an accountant. Yeah, I think you would be really good at it. Why do you think that? Why do you think I would be good at something you know nothing about? Because you've been told by other people certain characteristics dictate how my life could go or should go? No. Imagine AI doing your taxes. That would be hilarious. I would love to see that actually. Would an AI be better at magnifying tax loopholes to where none of us had to deal with that bullshit anymore, I do wonder. Essentially, a quarter of your life, actually, because if you go off to college, especially if you get a master's degree or a doctorate degree, unless you absolutely require it for your career, the system has taken full advantage of you and even taken large sums of money from you, unless you got scholarships, to go get qualifications for the job you want to do, which you could probably do without getting those degrees. You could likely get a master's degree and a PhD in half the time. And I know for certain you can get an undergraduate degree in half the time. And how do I know this? I took all the ridiculous, useless courses that they require you to take for you to get your degree. And yes, require you to take. You can't get out of it. Otherwise, you will not be given your degree. And every university that I know of does this. Well, why would they do that? I'm convinced it's the money. Why would we be taught in high school these useless courses? That one I don't know. Because if you go to a public school, you don't pay for that. It's the taxpayer's dollar. Why would you give students lectures on useless topics? Is it to make them complicit in the industrial era America? The school system is so antiquated. There's something deeply wrong with it. And that's why a lot of kids, not just a few, act out. At one point or another, these kids act out, which normally, if they were just if they were just allowed to do what they wanted to do, probably wouldn't happen. But the rule of law, the massive tax code, all these fancy books with thousands of pages. I literally think it's 5,000 pages the tax code is written with. I could be wrong. But at the minimum, before we're even born, we have these rules to abide by without our consent. You could not go to school, but you're required to be homeschooled, as far as I know. I haven't actually looked into that, if you have to go to school. The point being, though, you don't know any better when you're a young kid. And the majority of Americans don't question the system either. They just go with it. And I mean majority, as in more than 50%. I would say that's a fair number. I don't think people are as blind as that statement would suggest, though. There's no way the majority of Americans don't question the system at least once, but they certainly don't think of how useless it is most times. They just think, let's have little Johnny go through the same thing I had to, because that's just the way it is. No. There are multiple doctor interviews I watched where they criticized the system of medical school and how stressful it is for upcoming doctors and current students. Why would you scare someone so badly into filling a role that's so necessary for society? Is the demand that high? I don't think so. Something just doesn't add up. There's so much bureaucracy to the system. And if you really think about it, when people are young, they think they have all the time in the world, and they're objectively really stupid. I know this because I'm not that smart. If I knew how much time I was wasting, I probably would have been far more anxious in school, which is not good for your mental health. But the fact that I was able to stomach it all, even though deep down I knew something was wrong, thought, I know for certain, when I was a kindergartner, I was much happier than when I entered the school system, and starting with first grade. I distinctly remember going into class, and I swear to God, I had childhood depression because of it. I don't care how extreme that sounds. I sat there and I did not know what was going on. Why did I have to sit in the same chair for 8 straight hours? Not straight. We got recess for all of 30 minutes, which then went down to 15 minutes. And the combined time, because you were on a schedule, to actually get out to the playground versus leave counted as the 15 minutes. How ridiculous is that? Teachers would actually punish us by not allowing us to go to recess if we acted out. Hey, stupid, that's why we're acting out. We're a bunch of kids stuck in a box, sitting in these uncomfortable chairs, doing something we don't care about. There's a reason we're acting out. We can't stand this. I couldn't, at least. I got in trouble so much when I was in first grade. I almost never got in trouble in kindergarten. Something happened. I lost my freedom. I went from doing essentially whatever I wanted to do all day. Numbers were my favorite thing to do. I loved counting with the pencil and this big ass, I don't even know what it was. I just loved to count all as high as I could go. That's all I wanted to do. That was one of my favorite activities. And then go have fun with friends and have authentic relationships. Which I know, when you're a kid, like, what do you know about authentic relationships? But why are we so arrogant as adults to say that kids are so stupid to where they can't understand relationships? I know I literally just called kids stupid, but in terms of, well, there we go. That's actually the hypocrisy of it all. I literally just called younger people stupid. Younger people meaning teenagers, pre-teenagers. But some of these thoughts get beat out of you as you get older. You just think, oh, this is the way it is. No, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to get up, go to work, slam down sometimes 2 cups of coffee. A lot of people spend $2,000 a year on coffee subscriptions. And by subscription, I mean they get that every day. That's a subscription in my book. You do something with consistency, you are subscribed to that lifestyle. Why? Why do we need to feel caffeinated? Why is there not enough energy in us to go and do the work we love without caffeine? Because it's not the work we truly love to do. And then some people will even argue, oh, well, you have to sacrifice to get what you want in life. Yeah, of course. What does that mean, though? That's so broad. That is so vague. Sacrifice what? Your mental health? Since when did that become cool? I think it's much cooler to actually say, you know what? No. I am going to be my own boss. I'm going to get up when I want. And if I make the same salary or less, but I'm doing whatever I want to do, I'm cool with that. And that's actually where a lot of people are moving. A lot of people during COVID started to really question why they were in the job role they were, or they got fired, or they just completely hated what they were doing to the point where they thought, oh, on top of my crappy job, I also have to deal with COVID? No, I'm done. I'm out. I will not wear a mask at work. I will not blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I'm getting better at having more of a flow to these videos. But the main point of this all, there's something seriously wrong with being able to look up anything on the internet and find the answer quicker than whatever my teacher can come up with, which is probably wrong half the time. If you really, that's the really bad part. Imagine all the things outside of the textbooks that you've asked your teacher, and they were just point blank wrong. You can't ask, you're not required to ask the teacher, okay, what about this concept, this philosophy? Why am I here? Hey teacher, have you ever gone to school and heard anyone raise their hand and say, hey teacher, why are we here? I can't remember a time that happened. I don't really take these long pauses for emphasis, more so that I'm just thinking of how to articulate the next sentence. AI is coming. It's already here with Siri. Matter of fact, I actually killed a video the other day by saying, hey. And I didn't say it just then because otherwise, right, the video would stop. And that actually frustrated me. The convenience of being able to ask my AI for something frustrated me. That's kind of weird. However, AI is coming. It's already here with the technology we have, but it's only going to get more advanced. And when I say AI is coming, I mean the level at which you can have a full-length conversation with a robot. There are videos on YouTube with GPT-3 having a full-length conversation with another human, talking about anything. It answered all the questions succinctly, no stuttering. It could make better YouTube videos than I could if you just gave it a script. It probably wouldn't have. And I say better YouTube videos as in it'd be more articulate. It wouldn't hesitate. But the soul would not be there. There was no soul in the robot. That's the thing that separates us as humans from robots, is the soul. But I know I'm not the only one who got out of high school, college, and oh my god, a doctorate program, went to the real world and realized they had been pretty much lied to. And what I mean by lied to, as in all this academic struggle was going to build into something really just important. You're going to achieve a lot because you're compliant with academics. What does that mean? How is that possible? Sure, you can point to statistics and say, oh yeah, lots of millionaires have MBAs. Billionaires are, almost every billionaire has a college degree. Yeah, but they probably didn't learn how to build the companies they did through education alone, if at all. That's something I could look into as well. How did Bill Gates come up with Microsoft? How much did his education actually help to develop Microsoft? All I know is from my personal experience, grade school, high school, college, so much wasted time studying useless crap. No application to my regular life. You can learn reading, writing, language far better on your own than being taught by most teachers who don't want to be there, probably. If you really asked, hey, teacher, here's $40,000 a year to go home and do whatever you want. Don't ever come back. Excuse me. You don't have to come here. You don't have to teach. We'll pay you the same exact amount of money to sit around and do nothing. You can do whatever you want with your time, but we'll just give you that $40K anyway. I can guarantee you at least 50% of teachers would take the money and stop teaching. You know why I know that? I can't imagine having to be in their shoes, getting crap pay, dealing with new students, mostly snot noses. Excuse me. God, I sound like an old man. If you're in middle school especially, if you're a middle school teacher, you're dealing with the worst phases of humanity, I think. One of the worst. Lots of cocky children. Anyway, why would you take that heat if you don't love what you do? It makes no sense. You're telling me you would rather get paid $40,000, you'd rather get paid the same amount of money to do all that crap and deal with all of those students versus $40K just in your bank every year to not do that. You cannot convince me the majority of teachers would not take that route instead. Especially if you taught more of these teachers, if you showed these teachers, hey, by the way, you can actually invest half of that money. You could go live in a luxury spot in the other side of the planet for months at a time, come back to the US for tax reasons, all these loopholes, invest a quarter of your income and just watch it grow. Go live the life you really want to live. You cannot convince me they would still take that position. And that's what is beautiful about AI. That's also what's equally as scary. Humans are scared of what they don't understand. And I'm a living example. However, I understand AI enough just from thinking about it and some research to know this is going to revolutionize the entire planet. It already has. The haste at which the iPhone has developed from its infancy to now, it just doesn't make any sense. Unfathomable, yeah, that's the word. It's unfathomable to consider where technology could be and will be. Unless we blow each other up, right? In the next 2 decades, especially, let alone the first decade. But the next 2, we're going to see a revolution in technology and probably the social fabric that we never envisioned would happen. No one saw this coming. Unless you're a genius, it was very hard to see this coming. Knowing the level at which humans have developed back in the 70s, knowing back in the 70s where humans were going at this level, to where I can talk into a supercomputer, I've said this multiple times before, and transmit it out to wherever, whenever. I can transmit that information to an audience, and they can decide whenever and wherever to watch it, and they can turn it off, speed it up, slow it down, pause it, go get a snack, do anything in between they want to do. Completely boggles my mind to the point where it actually frustrates me. The school system is not changing as quickly as technology is, because there's some kid just like me sat at his desk miserable with a rough home life on top of that, which I didn't have too bad, but I could tell you some stories. Couple that with having a rough home life, that school might be that kid's escape. Who knows? Maybe that's the good thing about it, right? But I guarantee you, if that kid was allowed to do what he wanted to do and not have to comply with these stupid classes that she will never use, that kid will be much happier and a lot less socially isolated. Because there's a lot of children, and by a lot, I don't mean percentage, because 10% is not a lot, but 10% of 8 billion is a lot. That's a ton of people. I would guesstimate 10% of students are socially isolated because they just don't feel like they fit in at all to where they're at. They feel so divided sitting at that desk that they just become antisocial because they're so confused by what's going on. They just freak out. That's why some kids I went to school with were popping Adderall every morning. Adderall to a 6-year-old. Just to be able to not flail off the wall, bounce off the walls, do what kids actually do, and just have a ton of energy. Because they have to focus. They have to focus. For what? To gain a bunch of useless knowledge. And yes, it's a very negative look at how things are, but it's quite accurate. Let me rattle it off. Reading, writing, both can be taught, like I said, easily at home. You do not need, especially with apps like Grammarly, that can just teach you how to create sentence structures. Especially when you have the premium version, it'll show you everything you need to know. You can learn all this from YouTube like that. There's something completely broken about teaching kids for the cumulative amount of hours, right? Let's say reading and writing are 2 separate classes, and they have all, I remember they would literally have us read together. Cool, I guess that's supposed to be a bonding exercise. Replace that with 2 hours of recess. The kids will probably learn just as well. And have that reading and writing be combined into a 20-minute online course. They can take like 3 times a week. I guarantee you, with little homework in between, fun exercises to where they're not miserable doing these repetitive exercises. Oh my God. You're literally beating the soul out of these children. You. Who's you? Who was I referring to just then? I guess I'm referring to the powers that be. Whoever orchestrated the school system to how it is. We've never questioned that. At least a lot of people have not. They never said, who actually decided this is how things are? This is what my kid has to do. That's what I had to do, so therefore my kid has to do it. I'm a successful young man. Or I'm a successful adult. I go to work. I get off on weekends. I have a great life. Do you really? I guarantee if you ask the majority of Americans, hey, not even teachers now, would you take your salary you're currently being paid just to do nothing? It's just given to you. Or would you take the same salary and continue to do your job? Gone. Workforce gone. Gone. But the system, the school system, essentially wants you, in my eyes, to be just that, a compliant robot, until we devise something that will take over that, i.e. AI, or no, EG. See? I remembered something from writing class, which, by the way, again, even if I was hesitant, like, oh, which one is which? Guess how easy it is to say, hey, look this up for me. Boom, right there. Right there. I don't need some miserable teacher to lecture me whose soul is dead about what is important. This is not a light topic. So, back to the point. Reading, writing, combine the 2 courses, easy. Mathematics, oh my God, don't get me started on that. Give us basic computational awareness. That's all we need. Oh, well, what if you don't have your technology? Well, you know what? That's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. What if you don't have your technology? If we don't have our technology, what does that even mean? Oh, what if you don't have your phone with you? Dude, if we don't have our phones with us now, we almost can't get anything done. Not nearly to the efficiency that we want. You're going to fall behind if you're not in tune with technology. And on top of that, what does that mean? Does that mean losing my phone? Okay, sure. I'll just go get a new one. But then I could also go to my computer. Is that what you mean as well? Oh, what's wrong with technology? Like, I don't have my computer either. I have nothing in my house. I am stripped of technology. I wouldn't be able to do half the work tasks of any given job without technology. Even something as simple as taking orders at a restaurant, you cannot do without technology anymore. Unless the person is paying in cash, which is extremely rare, and you're cooking with rocks, and like you're cooking can you cook on a charcoal grill? Yeah, unless you have rocks and lighter fluid. But who's gonna eat there? That would take so long. The food probably wouldn't taste as good. It's harmful for the environment. Like, the whole thing is just a stupid argument. It used to work. It used to really work. But now it doesn't. If you don't have technology, you can't flick on your blinker when you're driving. How dangerous is that? So, yes, give me some basic computational awareness through technology. There, math done. Okay, now what? I took religion, 1st grade through 8th grade. I got indoctrinated enough to the point where it changed literally how I behaved and made me super paranoid, at least the school system I was in, about not going to church on Sundays. And if I missed a Sunday, I was committing a sin and I was going to hell. If you're 50% good or bad, and just you tiptoe the line, you're 51% good, you're now in heaven? Is that how that works? That was never answered in those religion books. So, you know, rather than waste a bunch of paper and destroy the environment, right? God's green earth. Not exactly. We keep printing all these Bibles and other books that project these theories that have no real utility outside of, okay, just shouldn't be a bad person. It doesn't have to be that complicated. I don't know. I'm conflicted on that one, man. That was specific to me. I didn't need to know any of that. Maybe it was good. What else? What other classes are there? Science? Google anything you want, you'll be able to find it. Most kids ended up cheating on all of their homework assignments too because of the internet. They figured, oh, I could be a good person and not cheat on this assignment. Or I can just do what I want to do. What's a kid gonna do who already feels like they're strapped to their desk for hours a day, which then is not enough. They have to go home and complete homework. You take your work home with you. This all just screams greasing the capitalist wheel. I'm a capitalist. Of course, I want to be wealthy. There's something wrong, though, with not teaching kids how to actually become a business owner or entrepreneur and convincing them to take work home with them. That's not how that works. Unless you're a business owner yourself, which school does not teach you how to do. So, science, easy. Go online, watch Bill Nye, do something. Unless you're at, that's a very niche topic too. Realistically, that's one of the most underused of all the courses that we are taught in school. In day-to-day life, you have to know how to read, you have to know how to write, You have to know how to do some basic math in your head. Otherwise, you can just automate it, but you still have to know how to do basic number crunching. Otherwise, your brain, it's very hard to function in modern society without a little bit of math skills. But science, I learned about detritus, I learned about sedimentary rock, and that I can't remember the rest. You know why? Because my mind got rid of all that. All the real world actual applications to the real world. I keep doing this because the real world is just a system humans have devised that works to the efficiency. It works to better the efficiency of a generalized positive outcome, a generalized perceived positive outcome for the rest of us through the creation of cars, technology, better environments, and just all the first world amenities. I dumped all that science knowledge in exchange for, okay, how do I sell? How do I market? How do I talk? How do I present myself? How do I dress? That's another thing. School doesn't even teach you how to dress, dude. I never learned how to dress. I had to wear a uniform to school, so that helped. But I never learned going to a public school, hey, you're supposed to dress this way. You kind of just see how it's done by adults around you, which you then don't question, which most don't question either. I didn't question it. I just thought that's how things go. So that's 4 subjects gone. What else? No, that's 5 now. Oh man, what else? Is that it? There's something else I'm missing. Math. Okay, I had to learn how to use a computer. That was very important. That was actually my favorite class. You know why? Because I went there and they taught me how to type. They taught me how to use a computer. And then more importantly, I got to have fun on it. I got to dig around as much as I wanted to. I got to play games while the teacher wasn't looking, or I would learn all the ins and outs of, like, yeah, you were assigned certain things and that sucked, but you were actually at the minimum, if we're in this box anyway, whatever. It was at least cool to be compliant in learning something that is here to stay. Learning how to use a computer, the best thing I learned in school. Music, that was cool. That was actually pretty cool. Maybe it differs, right? Maybe it differs from person to person. However, giving it, sure, most kids though, if we really cared about, oh, well, you know what, we just want to make sure everyone gets a taste of what they want to do in life. No. If you actually cared about that, if whoever made the school system actually cared about showing people whatever they wanted to do, they would just give them the internet and let them freely do whatever they please. Whether that's good or bad for them long term, I don't know. Who's to say that's worse than what we're doing now? Forcing kids to sit in a chair all day, bored out of their mind. I would be that kid playing with crayons in his desk because I had zero desire to learn what the teacher was babbling on about. And looking back, some of the teachers I had, dude, they probably had a lot of issues. So why were they the coach in my life? Some of them were morbidly obese, and yet we talked about having a good diet in the food pyramid. Way to be a shining example. Boy. And I can make fun of that because I was a fat kid. I really was. You talk about not feeling like you fit in. Not only did I go to school for the first, not only did I go to real school the first time in first grade and think something is wrong here. I don't belong here. And then I was the fat kid. Dude, that sucked. I can only imagine what would have happened if I had free reign to just go outside and play all day. But then again, there's the thing. I might have just played video games. Who knows? I might have just played video games and gotten really fat. Like, way fatter. Because video games give you more of a rush than anything else. But that's the thing. I'm at home when I'm doing that. And if my parents are good enough parents, they'll see the problem with what I'm doing and tell me, hey, go outside. And then it's my parents telling me what to do. Not some temporary figure telling me what to do. Which on top of that, you would switch. You would go to different classrooms all day throughout middle school and high school. So you have all these random influences in your life when you're critically young and your mind is very malleable, telling you what to think, what's important. Some of them are tyrants as well, where their class, if you fail it, you're an idiot, you won't succeed. How is that healthy for anyone? No matter how old they are, actually, how young or old they are, how is that healthy? Even when you're 50, banking, every smart investor, besides Warren Buffett that I know of, says to diversify your portfolio. Okay, so then why would I bank my life on one class being the determinant of my future? I wouldn't. That would be silly. But some of these teachers were convinced if you didn't pass their class, or if you didn't understand the material, if you didn't understand just how their structure was, like how they operated that classroom, you were an idiot. Imagine the stress. When you're 50, you have more life experience. You know more than likely, okay, it's probably not the best thing to throw all my eggs in one basket. But when you're young, especially if you're insecure, especially if the people around you are insecure in your social circle, especially if your parents are insecure, they don't speak out against anything, they just let things blah, blah, blah. They're doing their best, whatever, but they still don't speak up for you. You learn that that's the way to do things. Don't speak up for yourself. And some teacher is telling you, if you don't pass their class, you're a retard. You have no future. I mean, Jesus, bro. What kind of system is that? Why are those teachers even allowed to be in it? I would never allow my kid, with my knowledge, to get berated by some other adult figure. That's not healthy at all. There's no way someone's mind who does not know anything about the real world, because school is very encapsulating, especially in the modern era, where there's virtually there are no physical threats at all, unless you're at a bad school, which that's even worse. My heart goes out to kids who grew up in a bad area and literally without a choice had to go to a bad school, and especially if they were on the smaller side like me, they got picked on and they didn't feel like they fit in, anything like that. Oh my god, dude. They didn't feel like they fit in. And god, dude. Those are the types of kids that end up doing drugs. To cope with all the crap that happened to them, that they had almost no control over, they probably try to substitute that lost control, lost personal narrative with drugs, because they can manually give an input and receive a desired output. Whereas with school, it wasn't that simple, and it's never been that simple. You can't study for a test and convince yourself to love what you're doing enough to get an A on every single exam, unless you absolutely love the test, or you dedicate a lot of your time to it, or if you're just gifted at what you're doing. You can get high, though, with a needle, a joint, a line, a pill, just by using it, and that's it. Cut, dry, to the point, there you go. That's what you have. And so some of these kids who exit the school system and they don't know their way, and they think they're losers because they weren't rewarded by the system that they were told was the only way through society, especially if you go to college and you're also convinced you have to come up with a career plan and do that for 30 years, which is what people did. I might sound old just mentioning that if someone younger watches this video, because that's what people did back in the 50s. Back in the 50s. It started the shift with the hippie movement, that's for sure. But it's really starting to come up now, where a lot of people my age and younger are thinking, I don't want to do what my parents did. I don't want to do the same thing every day. Something's wrong with this model. I want out. So when you see someone drop out at 16, you might think, wow, that girl, that guy, that person's an idiot. They're gonna be a failure. Haha, look at them. Well, some of these people have went on to become multi-millionaires. Maybe even billionaires. I don't actually know. There's going to be a high school dropout billionaire in the next century. I just know it's going to happen. You know why? Because of technology. Technology can teach you anything you want, anywhere in the world, at any time, as long as you have access to it. As long as you have access to an internet connection, which even the cheapest internet now is light years faster than dial-up. And it's so cost effective that as long as you have connection to the internet, you can learn anything you want. Now, will that turn into substantial income for certain? Who knows? Honest to God, who knows? It may not. But the fact of the matter is that we're just talking about school. We are literally talking about school and how broken the current system is. At least for some people. I think it's broken for everybody. Because when you're younger, you don't value your time as much. You just don't. You don't understand how much time speeds up because it feels so slow when you're in the school system, because you're so young and everything's so new. I think his name is Veritasium. Yeah, did a YouTube video on this. He took two groups of people, one about my age, asked them, hey, tell me when a minute has gone by, and he hit a stopwatch for himself, hidden from them. So here's the stopwatch, here's the stopwatch, and you tell me how much time has passed. people in my age group said 1:06 when a minute had passed. That was about the average. The older generation, just old people in general, 50, 60, 70, 2 minutes was the average. From a small group, that's unbelievable. Just some random group of people he pulled off the street. And I can just personally attest, time has sped up 100% for me. I distinctly remember how slow it felt, and now it feels like that time went flying by. But in reality, the moment I was in felt so slow, but now it feels much faster. So why does that matter? It matters because when you think time is infinite, like you do when you're a child and a younger adult, you don't value it as much. You don't value something that seems infinite. So you're not willing, or not even thinking, really, I should say something about this. I don't like this class. I don't like the way it's taught. I don't like the teacher. I don't like blah, 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 blah. But you think, whatever. I'll just deal with it. I'll get in and out. I got plenty of time. Well, in reality, you're wasting hours, days, weeks, turn into months, years of your life, which turn into decades of missed productivity in something that you really wanted to do. Versus the fact that you spent that time sitting in the system, learning a bunch of useless knowledge. And I think objectively it's useless. That extends out of my opinion. I objectively think so much of what we learn in school is useless. And if it's not useless, if all this information has given me some benefit I'm unaware of, regardless, it could have been taught to me. Actually, this was before technology, because when I went into first grade in 2006, the internet was not like it is today. Matter of fact, a lot of people didn't even believe in the internet still. How crazy is that? That actually blows my mind. But today, kids entering the school system today could learn anything and everything they want from the internet. And then they get all their time back, especially, this is the other thing that people don't consider as much. I keep saying people, like, who am I talking about? Like, as if I'm in this little bubble and I know, like, something someone else doesn't. I wouldn't say that. I would just say I barely hear this get talked about. So how about that? I barely hear anyone say anything about this. About a child getting his or her productivity back to do whatever they want to do and launch themselves into becoming the first trillionaire, the first one to find out a cure for cancer, the first one to discover the 500 mile per gallon car, the first one to discover the Hyperloop that Elon Musk has been talking about. All because when they were 5, 6, 7, whatever, they were given the internet. And I don't think it's that simple. But they were given the ability to do more of what they wanted to. As in, say, at the maximum, they had to sit through school. I still can't think of a rationale for keeping the school system the same. No matter what we have, it was always broken. It was always broken. No matter if we had the internet or not, it was always broken. And why is that? Because a lot of what you're taught does not apply to the corporate structure of America. And you can't escape this corporate structure. It just is. Everything we do comes down to the dollar. Just about everything we do comes down to the dollar. I don't want to say everything, but just about everything. Even religion, even something as innocent on its surface as religion, comes down to the dollar. Why? Because if a religion does not receive money, it can't grow. Nearly to the point where it would like to. But why would religion want to grow so badly? Control. You can control people when you control their thoughts and what they believe in and their idea of what death is about. That's another topic. But I guess I can loop that in with, you can control people and get them thinking that if they're compliant in a school system like I went through, then they will be successful. And if they just work and work and work, it'll all be good and dandy. And I swear to God, given the fact that this country is run, at the minimum, for example, Marriott hotels, they own, I believe, at least 14 of the major hotel chains we get to stay in. Now, if someone or some company has that much power, something has to give. There's some incentive to keep us learning these useless subjects, probably so that we're just taught how to work and comply with basic tasks while the rich get all the money. I don't know. I don't think it's like that. But it just doesn't make sense. Why are we taught these things that have almost no carryover into the real world? The corporate structure of America. It just doesn't add up. So, if you were to give a kid the ability with the internet, whatever, to just do what they want, kids are not dumb. And I literally said at the beginning of this, young people are stupid. How funny is that? I'm already switching my narrative. And I might switch my opinion on this whole thing in a year or however long from now. But this has been on my mind for a while. I've consistently thought the school system was and is stupid. The way it's run, it's just, something is not good about it. Let's say all else fails. Why are kids not outside for at least an hour to 2 hours a day of recess? Since when did recess become not cool? That's the weirdest thing. We're so focused on COVID, political correctness, and all this horse shit. We're blinded by that nonsense. That we're not focused on the fact that statistically, 4 out of 5, or 3 out of 5, I believe it's 4 out of 5, it's a minimum of 3 out of 5 of the most costly diseases we have in America are metabolic related. Why is that? No exercise, shit diet, sitting all day. Kind of sounds like the school system. Especially with some of these lunches the kids are given. There's almost no nutrition to it. Like, the best thing you'll get at a school lunch is maybe gross green beans. And yes, I do mean gross. Call me ungrateful. I know. Some people don't even have food to eat every day. The point being is, it's not that hard to cook healthy meals. But you know what's weird? Kids don't want that because they found McDonald's early, and now they think anything healthy tastes awful by comparison, even though it's far superior for you than anything else. And it will actually lead you to have a better, happier, healthier life just by making a change to your diet. So the whole system just sucks. It really sucks. And that's just school. I'm not even talking about going to work at a job you hate, 9 to 5, same schedule every week, even though you're hanging out with your homies till 4 in the morning on Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays. That's like the only time you get to actually go party your tail off and really just let loose. And most people that go out and party, they're also getting royally screwed up. all sorts of drugs, not just alcohol. Why is that? Probably to dissociate from the job they hate. You wouldn't want to dissociate as much, probably, if you loved what you do. But that wasn't taught to us by the school system because we were taught, sit down, shut up, comply, this is the way it goes. And that's why I have a beef with it.